Hi everybody and welcome to the SwiftCase Productivity Podcast. My name is Adam Sykes. I'm the tech founder of SwiftCase, the productivity platform. And with me today I've got Phil and Craig.
Hi, I'm Craig. I'm development manager at SwiftCase and also the manager of the Liverpool office in the Baltic Triangle.
Hi, I'm Phil. I'm also in the Baltic Triangle as a developer.
Okay, great. So we've been talking a lot recently about business principles and how our business is a bit different to other businesses, and I suppose it's something I'm really passionate about focusing on what matters in life rather than just getting people into work from 9 to 5, clocking in, clocking out. And it's about the whole ethics of business and how business can improve in the future, especially now we've got like what we do, and we use our own systems, automation. It frees people up to do things a bit differently, to work at different times of day and do things in different locations. Obviously we've had the internet for a long time now, so people are already used to being able to work remotely and so on. But that hasn't really impacted much on people's business, and I suppose we're all been talking around the office about how, I suppose, SwiftCase, we do things, we do things a bit differently. So what are some of the aspects that you guys have sort of found good since you've come to work with us, I suppose?
Well, it's the flexibility, isn't it? I think the acknowledgement that there are other things in life other than work, but also I think underneath that there's understanding that if you do help people enjoy the aspects of their life, you will get a better productivity, an attitude from your employees. One of the things that drew me to this job and the company in general was that attitude, and it's really been incredible help in my with my work-life balance, because there are many times when either you or a member of your family can be ill, and if you've got a family with children, that likelihood increases 5-10-fold, as you know. And if I was working in a more, let's say, backwards looking environment, I would be concerned and worried about taking too much time, or going home early because someone's been ill, or any of those circumstances that arise for everyone all the time, even if they don't have a family. And being able to know that you've got the confidence of your employer that you can do the work remotely, that because they can measure and see the output, and not necessarily looking over your shoulder, looking at your, making sure that you've got exactly the amount of eye time on the screens. You don't measure productivity necessarily by attendance and apparent effort. And in some years ago I worked in a factory, which it was literally, my job didn't fill hardly a day of the week. And the rest of the week it was the most stressful job I ever had, because I actually had to pretend to be busy. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, and no one really is productive in those environments where they feel compelled to pretend to be busy.
I think, I suppose taking it from just a productivity point of view, happy people are productive people, aren't they?
Exactly.
If you're missing your child's first school play because you're stuck in an office, you're not going to be very productive. You're not going to think much of your job, and you're not going to retain staff either, are you? So hiring staff and training staff, it's a big outlay. So treating your staff from a productivity and a staff retention point of view, you should treat staff well. But I think it also says a lot about how your business operates as well, from an ethics and what you believe. If you're going to treat your staff poorly, you're going to treat your customers poorly.
It's interesting.
How you treat people, how you expect to be treated. If you treat everyone well, you treat your staff well, you're probably going to treat your customers well. You're going to respect people, you're going to respect your customers. And I think all of that comes from how people do business. And I think people, certainly nowadays, and certainly from my point of view, people care about the ethics. It's not just about price. You don't want someone who's going to rip you off, and that's part of ethics. But as well, you want someone who's going to do a good job. They're going to be reliable. They treat people well. Because at the end of the day, if staff turnovers are happening very often, You know, for the customer's point of view, they spoke to someone one week and next week they're gone because
Why aren't they there?
why aren't they there?
Yeah.
So the quality of the product will fall because there'll be that transitional period.
Yeah.
Like someone who knows the code base very well. Or,
exactly.
You know,
and if you don't care about your staff, you don't care about your product, don't care about your customers.
Yeah.
You know,
if it's just about coming in and clocking in the hours.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get something good out of the end of it.
Billing
really.
the hours to the client.
It's that two-way process.
Isn't it?
If you give that like trust and commitment to the person and they see that it's true, then they're more likely to give back their spare time as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like
there's a loyalty to it as well.
You know, I enjoy working here. So like I will enjoy developing when I think of a solution. Whether it's in work or in hours or not. Do you know what I mean? Like if it comes to me at 1 o'clock in the morning, I get up and do it.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's the joy of also using a system that can be accessible anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Really. Out of hours, if you've suddenly got this spark of creativity, or you've just remembered something, you know, I could seal that deal right now. You could just hop on your system and get it done.
Yeah. But I think as well, everyone is free to sort of share ideas as well. So rather than going, I'm the boss, what I say goes. You know, I get things. Alka sent me an email the other day with ideas around how we could handle our logs better. You know, Craig's doing stuff at night and sending me ideas, and you've sent me ideas of like, this marketing idea is going to be a good idea. Let's interview this person. Let's put together this story. You know, and some of these mightn't even be your roles. No, you know, the culture in the businesses. It's a it's not a strict hierarchy. It's a very flat and open structure. It's very transparent, and we can all, we all work together. It's a team, isn't it?
I think you benefit from the communication, really, don't you? It's one of those where it's one of the benefits of a small team, really. But I think larger companies could definitely introduce that. Just more time talking to your staff. It really helps.
So why do you think large companies have difficulty with these kinds of
I think maybe they don't have the right tools as well, because I think a lot of what we try to do, and certainly I noticed the difference when we first moved from, we had our first office, then we opened our second office, so there was a geographical divide, and it, obviously I can't be in one place all the time, in two places at the same time even, and not yet, no, we haven't developed that technology. Right on that. I think that would be good. That would be the ultimate. If I could clone myself, then that would be fine. That's
the dream.
But no, so obviously you can't clone yourself, so you have to rely on others. So you have to give out trust, don't you? So you have to, and it's when you don't trust people, when you don't give them that trust, then you have to put more formal procedures into place. Everything gets very restricted and
people feel
box ticking, and I know I can trust Craig. We communicate, you guys communicate, but then I always make sure that I come over and see you guys, and we do this podcast here today in Liverpool. So there's always communication, but I think people try and formalise the hierarchy, and that's what starts restricting things. For people put in, it's important to have processes, but it's important that processes have the right outcomes, not just a process for process's sake.
Exactly.
Isn't it? So and achieving the fastest time or the lowest price is not necessarily the best end product.
It's not necessarily
goal, is it?
Black and white, really, is it?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. So I think another key thing we like to always get involved in, it sort of relates to sharing information, is learning from each other. I think that's always important, because people have different skills, and although you might get hired to be a developer, you might have other skills that you bring. So people have got outside interests. Phil, you do photography, don't you? So you've been using that in work, even though you're a developer. You've been involved in that.
Not to mention the coffee as well.
Yeah, and also superb barista.
Superb coffee.
The most important.
We're opening a coffee shop as well. Expand into different territories. But so I think if you don't speak to people, you don't give them freedom, you don't get them freedom to explore and to try new things, you don't get the best from people if you're restricting them to the
mean, yeah, in technology as well, I know an initial version of SwiftCase when we were originally planning out the software, it was going to use a particular framework, but a member of the staff at the time come along and he'd introduced us to other technologies, and if it wasn't for us being quite open about that, we'd probably be stuck with, quite frankly, an inferior product. So the benefits you reap are amazing, really, and I think having a company where the staff can come to you and just give their ideas, discuss it in a forum with other staff members, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I think you've got to give that investment in people, haven't you? You've got to allow people to learn and also be teachers as well. So, you know, we've had it. So someone who's only been with us a year has been explaining something completely new to someone who's been with us 10 years, because they've just got a different perspective, haven't they? And I suppose that's how you grow in business, isn't it? Is by putting together different perspectives from different people, and you find something new, don't you, that you can, you know, other people haven't thought of before, because you're always absorbing ideas. And I suppose that's what I like to read a lot. So I read a lot of different books and get different ideas. And you know, you've got resources in your staff and in your team, but everyone's got different ideas, different viewpoints. And
it's the advantages of having different personality types as well, isn't it?
Yeah, different personalities and a diverse workforce. So I think, you know, I'd like to think we're quite, although our podcast today doesn't necessarily reflect that, we have got a fairly, for a tech company, a pretty gender balanced team. You know,
a range of age groups as well.
Range of age groups, and you know, gender different balance, different nationalities, and everyone brings different ideas. You know, the way I think is completely different to the way someone else thinks. You know, the other week we did the Discovery Insights, and we've looked at Myers-Briggs and some more formal psychology. Profiling, we'll cut that big pause. We've looked at different profiles, and people do think differently, and like the way I necessarily would approach something is not the same way as someone else would approach something.
And it's not a value judgment, is it? Necessarily, that approach, which is what would happen in a hierarchical system, is that you'd have a dictatorial thing where the person who's at the top feels justified in thinking that their approach is the best because they're at the top. And then any other approach is a threat, and therefore needs to be undermined in some way. And in a closed hierarchy like that, you lose innovation. And even though you can grow, it's like you grow like a tumor, so to speak. You're just getting larger without really diversifying or
if you're doing things the wrong way, you'll continue to do them wrong.
But sometimes I think the success, like the monetary success, or fiscal success, or how we want to put it, kind of creates a feedback loop where because it's always been done like this, we should continue doing it because we're making money.
But could you be making more or increasing more if you tried something new?
Or you could be that might not necessarily be our priority. Could you be making a nicer environment for yourself as a business owner or for your employees by not prioritising some aspects?
So how much is it worth to an employee? May not be salary increase, but it might be the fact that they know that every time their kid's playing football or they've got a ballet, whatever, they know they can go and see that. They know that people understand that concept, or you know, they've got a new dog, they've got a new puppy they've got to look after. You know, it's flexible. They've got to go home. You know, other people can cover. And I suppose that's one of the benefits of the way we work with our system, is that we build the expertise into the system so that people can, you know, they can swap jobs, they can allocate work to other people very easily. And I suppose that one of the benefits of using our own system is we always improve our system, and you know, we know the ins and outs of how good it is for running a business, and we add things in all the time. But I suppose that's the key thing, is you need to make your business work for everyone who's in it. And that's how you get the best out of people.
Absolutely.
Even on a career path, note really, I suppose if you've got young staff, well, any staff member really, and they have an idea of maybe the path they want to take in their career, you kind of got to think about ways to nurture that as well. Because ultimately, you know, I started off as a designer, and then I ended up becoming more of a front-end developer. Then I went more into the development side, you know, and then ultimately managerial roles, doing a bit of marketing and so on, but I've had the freedom to explore different avenues for my career, and I think that's been so beneficial. Rather than being stuck in the same path, it's fine if you want to stay in that, that's fine. But if you do want to explore different things, let people in the company know, because it might give you the chance.
Side projects and doing your own thing, and like that is, I think it can only be beneficial, can't it? At the end of the day, whatever makes the business work, try things. If it doesn't work, try something else. But don't be rigid in your structure.
Paradoxically, like, even though you may feel comfortable doing something, you can stagnate, and that can lead you to feel like a company isn't the right place for you, because you've taken that easy thing for 10 years, and then before you know it, you've specialised yourself so much that you are unemployable elsewhere, and then you end up with a workforce that is there because they're stuck and not because it's a place they've chosen to be and they enjoy being in. And whereas being flexible, like you said, means that they can challenge themselves and maybe try something new that increases the job satisfaction and overall be staff retention. In the end.
Exactly.
I think it's brilliant.
Okay, so I think we've covered quite a few areas there. So happy staff are productive staff. Let people explore, because you might find benefits of new things that they can bring that you didn't even realise that they had. And I suppose always learn from your staff as well as try and teach them. You may not always be right. There's different viewpoints. And have a look at having a diverse team, so you do have a wide range of viewpoints that can only be beneficial, and treat people how you want it to be treated, because it reflects on your reputation as well, doesn't it? Of how you treat your staff, how you treat other people will reflect to your on you when you're talking to your customers. And hopefully if people see that you're a good team, you're got good staff, happy staff, then obviously you're doing something right. So I think I think we've got quite good mix there, and I'm glad you like working for SwiftCase. Okay, great. So thank you everybody for joining us on this SwiftCase productivity podcast. If you want to check out the subscribe links and give us a follow on swiftcase.co.uk.
At SwiftCase UK on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook. Search for us on LinkedIn if you want to. And visit the website for more information, swiftcase.co.uk.
Great.
As ever, I'll leave a comment below.
Any comments you've got, want us to talk about another topic, suggest anything you'd like to hear us talking about on the SwiftCase Productivity Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.